today's video is going to be a bit different. I thought it'd be fun to do sort of a get to know me video. I have definitely strayed away from making this a personal channel, but for better or for worse, I am the vessel that talks to you about motorcycling, and I thought today would be fun to just kick back and let you guys learn a little bit more about me, because I don't really talk about myself very much, but I thought it'd be fun, you know, to clue you guys into a little bit of my personal life and some of the stuff that I like to do and what I got going on. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. One of the most important facts about myself is that I am a Brazilian immigrant to America. So I was born in Brazil. Both my parents are 100% Brazilian. My family has, like, you know, Portuguese and Spanish descent, which is why phenotypically speaking, I look like I would be on the MotoGP grid alongside Marc Marquez and his brother, because we all look the same. Like, all us, like, Italian Spaniards, we all have that same kind of look to us. Not saying that I am anywhere near naturally talented. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we happen to look similar. So yeah, I'm fluent in Portuguese because I moved to the States when I was about 2.5. 1995, I would have been 2.5. And yeah, we only spoke Portuguese at home, which growing up was something that definitely made me feel a little different to others. Para toda a galera lá no Brasil, eu ainda falo português. Obviamente você vai notar que eu tenho um pouquinho de sotaque, porque eu só falo inglês hoje em dia. Eu vou explicar porquê depois. A família inteira mora no Brasil, em São Paulo, a maioria na Moca, nesse bairro. E eu entendo tudo que fala em português, eu consigo ler, escrever, mas se jogar muita gíria ou coisa estranha lá no diálogo, talvez eu não vou entender, né? Mas eu faço o melhor que eu posso. E, como eu falei, eu entendo tudo, consigo falar tudo. Eu já escutei que a galera no Brasil quer que eu falo mais em português, faço conteúdo em português, porque eles amam os gringos, né? Até que eu não me considero muito gringo, né? Que eu nasci no Brasil, eu sou brasileiro, eu falei português em casa, crescendo na Flórida, eu tinha só, tipo, amigo e família brasileira, né? Obviamente eu fui pra escola nos Estados Unidos, então por isso que eu falo inglês perfeitamente, mas eu não sei, eu tenho dificuldade de lembrar certas palavras, né? Se eu tentar fazer um motovlog inteiro em português, eu vou esquecer como falar certas partes da moto, né? Tipo, eu não sei como é que fala throttle to, eu não lembro, né? Clutch, embreagem, né? Eu acho, amortecedor, suspensão, assento, né? Eu consigo talvez achar um jeito, mas eu acho que vai ficar tudo estropiado, né? Mas vamos voltar de volta pro inglês, tá? So, yeah, fluent in Portuguese. It's like I have to shift a gear in my brain to speak it, though, because it does come out a little bit funny sometimes. But I am fluent. If you speak to me in Portuguese, I will understand 100% of what you're saying. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to track, but yeah. So, grew up 100% Brazilian. It was a big part of my upbringing and who I am as a person. I think it informed a lot of my sense of humor as well. Brazilians have I'd say a very morose and deadpan kind of humor in Brazil, because the economic and political situation is often fraught with, corruption and scandal, and there's a high degree of inequality in the country. There's a common expression that's kind of like, oh, we laugh because we don't want to cry, so yeah, Brazilian, full-blooded, feels pretty good. It's a lot of fun. Love eating my rice and beans, guaraná, all that good stuff. I grew up in Orlando, Florida. I say grew up, I lived there till I was about 13, so I thought it was totally normal to live in like a theme park world until I was about 12, 13. We'd go to Universal Studios all the time, and the only reason that we actually lived in Orlando was because that was the only place in America, well, not the only place, but one of the few places in America that my parents had visited before deciding to immigrate. And they just thought it was, it's a dreamland, right? It's super clean, it's Disney, it's a very idealized version of American life. And I think it just left a really big impression on them. So yeah, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. I have an older brother who is nothing like me. We are very, very good friends. We are the best of friends. We grew up together, and we had a lot of fun, and we still talk, and we're still buddies. But we are very, very different. I love, like, risk-taking and being stupid and, you know, this sort of thing. But my brother is very risk-averse. He's very put together. He is the adult in the family. I am the crazy, zany little brother, and I feel like I have trouble moving past that personality sometimes. I'm 31 years old now, which is pretty crazy. I'm turning 32 this year. Yeah, that feels kind of weird to say. I think I have, you know, oftentimes thought of myself as younger. I think everyone deals with that as they get a little bit older. They, you know, forget how old they are. But yeah, turning 32 this year. I moved to the DFW area after living in Orlando when I was about 13. I lived in the Frisco area, if you guys are familiar with that part of the world. It was extremely underdeveloped when we lived there. It's a big, sprawling suburban metropolis now. Yeah, it was never a place that I really particularly enjoyed. I felt that, you know, it just didn't have much in the way of built-in culture. Everything was very new. It was a little stifling. I felt like I was really detached away from, you know, a sense of place. But I stuck around DFW for quite some time. I got my undergraduate degree in economics at the University of Texas at Dallas. I ended up working a couple of oddball jobs, financial analyst, consulting work. I got my real estate license for a little bit. And funny enough, through getting the real estate license and my YouTube channel, was able to parlay that into convincing somebody that I was smart enough to work at a startup. So I worked at a couple startups, went out to San Francisco a couple times. I always felt like the dumbest person in the room. Everybody in those rooms had, you know, MBA degrees from, you know, Harvard and Stanford, and I was like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here at all. I ended up getting laid off from the first one, and then I worked at a different startup in Dallas, a more smaller local startup, and that was the last real job I worked about 5.5 years ago. I've been doing YouTube full-time for a good amount of time now, and I'm super grateful and thankful for that too. Other things about me, I have 3 lovely little pets. I'm also married, by the way. I should probably mention that first, lest my wife say that why how dare you mention the pets before me. But yeah, I'm happily married, love her to bits. She is my rock, my person, my support system. She has spent many a night at the kitchen table with me, pontificating about Yammy Noob and what should I do with our future and this and that. I could not do what I do without her, so she is the best. And we are actually expecting our first child too, which is really cool. I'm going to be a dad, so that's a lot of fun. I don't really know what to expect yet, but I think it's I've always wanted to be a dad. I'm super excited to have a little kiddo in my life. I love children, so I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Cannot wait to meet her. It's a baby girl, by the way. So pets, yeah. I have 3 of them. I have a German short-haired pointer. She is adorable. Her name is Maggie. She is 13 years old. I've had her for about 2.5 years now. She's not a rescue. She's actually my wife's family dog. She picked her out, Maggie, the dog, when she was, I believe, 14 or so. And she chose her. My wife was dog obsessed when she was a kid, so she literally made like a PowerPoint presentation for her parents to describe why a German short-haired pointer was the correct dog for the family and this and that, and miraculously convinced them, so she got Maggie the dog. But Maggie the dog lived with her until she went off to college, and then Maggie the dog lived with her parents for a long time, and then a few years ago, my wife was missing Maggie, and I thought, oh, it'd be super fun to bring her to live along with our little group. So she lives with us, and she is so sweet. The most docile little dog. She has a lot of personality, though. She regularly just sits around and groans. She moans. Maggie? Is it dinner time?
Don't say those words.
It's early for that. She's very vocal, and she's extremely punctual and timely, which is funny because my whole wife's side of the family is very punctual and timely, and I think she got it from them. So she's a little anxious. She's very punctual. If you miss her lunch, or excuse me, her breakfast or her dinner by even 20 or 30 minutes, she starts just sitting around moaning and groaning. You want it? There you go, good girl. She's funny. She's very dignified. She doesn't like, rolling over on her belly and being all silly. She's very put together. She's a lady, and she's an old lady now. So she's like, I'm past all that, silly young lady stuff. I'm not gonna sit around and just give you my belly. So that's our dog. We have a cat named Bird, who I believe her first name was Juno, actually, but somehow the name Bird stuck with her and she became Bird the cat. And she is adorable, very fluffy little thing. She is, again, my wife's cat. You're seeing a trend here, I hope. Bird the cat was a package deal when I met my wife many years ago. She said that if I wanted to be with her, the cat had to come with. I did not want a cat. I was not interested in owning a cat, and you'll see why when you hear about my third pet, which is my pet. But Bird the cat came along with us, came to live with us, and I've since come to really love the little guy. She's very cute. She's the opposite of Maggie in that she will roll over, give you the belly, frickin' let you love up on her. But she is very particular. If you pick her up, she will complain. I do this thing with her called shrimp mode, where I'll pick her up and I'll kind of like make her legs go kind of out like that, hold her by her little shoulders and just like scritch her head, and she like scrunches up her face and her legs go up just like a shrimp. And I try to shrimp her at least once a day, but she's very cute. She's very sweet. Doesn't do as many crazy cat things, which I really appreciate. I wouldn't want to live with a cat that goes bananas all the time. And then the last pet is Tofu the snake. I have a ball python whom I've had for about 4 years now. He's really cool. He is basically a houseplant. He doesn't do a whole lot. He hangs out in his enclosure. He has a very, very, very tiny brain, so he doesn't require much human interaction. The human interaction that I do with him is really for my own benefit rather than his. He would prefer if I just left him alone. But he is very nice. As far as reptiles go, hangs out in his enclosure. He's a really interesting pet. I think he's really cool to have around just because, he is so different to humans. He has no legs. He's just a noodle with a head. And I think he's just a fantastic little creature. And the reason I got him was actually because he's so low maintenance. So like I said, he's basically a house plant. So, he actually just requires water every once in a while, to keep him hydrated. That's the most important thing when it comes to a little pet like that, little reptile. He just needs water. He eats about once a month, which is a frozen rat. I have to thaw it out and all that and feed him, so he does enjoy that. But overall, he kind of just hangs out in his enclosure. Nowadays I've been super busy because we are anticipating a baby. And so I haven't really had the chance to interact with him much. I'm sure he likes it. He's been hanging out in his enclosure, unbothered, for a long time now. So yeah, those are the pets. That's the family layout. I'm sure as many of you gathered, I live in Austin, Texas. I mentioned that a couple of times. I moved out here about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, actually. No, it's been 5. Change of pace, change of scenery. I wanted to move somewhere that had a little more attractive roads and opportunities to ride, because I was, creating content full-time with YouTube, and for those who live in Dallas, it's a little sad to own a motorcycle in Dallas, Texas. You don't have too many opportunities to ride these kind of roads, like hill country, beautiful roads like that. We got plenty of opportunities here in Central Texas to ride some really, really cool roads. So I moved out here a while back. I met my wife here, so now we are here for the foreseeable future. I really like Austin. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I think it's a little too expensive for what it is. It's like, I don't know, the real estate here is crazy, and yeah, the fact that everything here is more expensive than it needs to be. It's a bizarre little California bubble, and basically everybody that lives here is not from here, so it's a bit of an immigrant island from other people in the States, so to speak. What else about me? I did a Draw My Life back in 2017 that detailed a lot of my personal experience and backgrounds and those sort of things. I'll link that below so you guys can check that out. I made that back in 2017. That was a long time ago. That was like over 7 years ago. So obviously where the Draw My Life ends at 100,000 subscribers was quite a long time ago. I wasn't married. I didn't have a kid on the way. I had a whole lot less motorcycling experience. It was a very, very long time ago, but it details some of my younger experience. But I think one of the big things about me that not a lot of people know is the fact that both my parents passed away when I was quite young. My mom was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia when I was 14, and if you don't know, that's a cancer of the blood, and it's a really, really tricky disease. She was in and out of treatment and different hospital visits for a vast majority of my teenage years. So I really didn't have the most normal teenage upbringing. My dad was really looking after my mom. My mom was super sick, and so I didn't really have much supervision or guidance during those years, other than my brother. My brother actually oftentimes acted as a bit of a caretaker or a guidance counselor for me in a way. I was old enough to fend for myself, but it really wasn't normal to be, 15, 16 years old and to be, by yourself at home, cooking for yourself. I think that really shaped how I view the world and how my life kind of went. She passed away when I was 17. It was right before my senior year of high school. And man, I really went off the rails senior year. Like my mom had passed away. And so that really defined a lot of my life, I think. It really was a huge thing, a huge turning point. And then, very tragically, my dad passed away about 5 years after that in 2015. I was 22. So I was 22 and I didn't have any parents, which is really crazy to say as someone who's a little older now. I would not wish that upon anybody. I was really, really young to not have parental guidance and to not be able to share my life with them going forward. That's something that we're seeing now with my wife's parents. They're still around, and I really feel very sad that they didn't get to see my wedding, and they're not going to see my first child. That kind of pain just keeps rolling on as time goes on. And one of the cool things about the YouTube channel, specifically in relation to my dad, some of you guys know this story. I mentioned it in the Draw My Life. So I posted my very first YouTube video on June 14th, 2015. It's actually still up, and there's a reason it's still up. The reason that video is still up is because I actually made that video just to send to my dad to show him I was riding a motorcycle safely. I wanted to show him that I was wearing all of my gear and that I had a reasonable motorcycle for my first one. He was very, very worried about me riding a bike because he used to ride a bike in Brazil back in like the 70s. I tried to tell him, I'm like, hey dad, like things are really different nowadays. Like you bought an RD350 as your first bike. That was pretty crazy. and he had actually a red RD350, and I got a Yamaha R3 because I thought it was kind of a cool, like, spiritual successor to the RD. And so I posted that video June 14th. I actually received a call from my stepmom, who's a fantastic woman, by the way. She basically became like a second mom to me. I received a call from her after midnight on June 15th. So I sent him the video, and you know, he checked it out, and he was like, "Oh, this is really cool. I'm gonna watch it more in the morning." I think he just had time to just like kind of skim through it. He's like, "Oh, good to see that you're riding safe," type of thing. I think he wanted to see more of it in the morning. He actually passed away that night, literally that like early morning or like late night or whatever in Brazil. He was down there for business, and so for a long time in early 2015, I kept making YouTube videos just to, you know, in this weird cosmic way of pretending like I was communicating with him almost. I just wanted to keep making stuff and keep talking to him, because he and I would talk every week on the phone. And I do think that in a way this YouTube channel exists as a bit of an homage to him, and I think he'd be really happy with how it ended up, with how big it is and how successful it's been. Certainly he would have had a lot to say about the mistakes I've made. God damn, I have made lots of mistakes. I'm a human being, guys. Like, I think a lot of times when you're in this business, people forget that you're a human being. But I'm a human being. I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes. I try to learn from them the best I can and not repeat them. But yeah, I made plenty of mistakes. So I think my dad would have definitely chastised me for a lot of the silly stuff I've done. He'd be like, "What are you doing?" You know, much like any father would do to a young son who's trying to find his way in the world. But yeah, that is I think a big defining feature about my life, unfortunately, is the fact that, you know, I haven't had much parental guidance, or you know, that I see people in their 50s and 60s and their parents are still around, and I'm like, man, you're so lucky. You know, that's all I ever think. I'm just like, you're so lucky. And it's really colored my kind of view about life and the world. Like, I often think the people I love are just gonna die just like that, but it usually doesn't work that way. But because that's all I've ever really known, it's easy to think, oh yeah, like people just die all of a sudden, you know, gotta look out for that. But that's not how it works. That's not what happens at all. So yeah, that was a big defining feature of my life. What else? So everybody thinks that I am motorcycle obsessed, and they would be right in thinking that. I really, really dig motorcycles. They're a big part of my life. They are a job and a hobby for me. A little bit of both, right? Column A, column B. But I actually am much more of a music guy than a motorcycle guy. For a long time, I thought that that's what my life was going to be. I have produced, played, thought about, and, you know, kind of just pontificated on music for a long time. I'll link below some of the stuff that I've made. I played in a band I played in like 3 different bands when I was in high school. We put out a little album, which was really cool. We actually this was super cool. I remember one time we were on the front page of Reddit. That was so awesome. We had one of our buddies, he posted the album up, and you know, it received a lot of traffic, and people were super stoked. It actually got to the front page of Reddit. I think we got like 50 or 60,000 plays in a day, which at the time was mind-blowing. And it was a very similar thing to when I did my first list video on Yammy and it like really took off, and like I was like, oh, I could like make this into something. However, at the time that the band like kind of took off and got this big pop, we were super disorganized, and I was just a teenager, and my drummer was going off to a different college, and I was like, oh man, like this is not gonna work, you know. I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I was like, I don't really think this is gonna pan out. So nothing ever came of it, but there is an inkling to me that I'm like, man, what if that had panned out? Because I really think it could have, either with that band or with maybe producing my own stuff. You know, not to toot my own horn here, but I do think that I'm more talented producing music than I am riding motorcycles, which is not saying much because I'm not that great at riding motorcycles. But I think I'm more naturally attuned to sound and music and that sort of thing than I am to wrangling around a two-wheeled machine. So yeah, I have a little studio set up at my house. I got a modular synthesizer, a bunch of fun toys. I've played the guitar. That's my main instrument for a long time now. I don't want to say how long, because then you guys are going to think I should be extremely good at playing the guitar. I'm actually very, I wouldn't say average, maybe slightly above average at playing the guitar. But yeah, I'm much more of like, you know, I like to find beautiful chord structures and interesting sounds rather than being technically proficient. Although I am reasonably technically proficient. I have a very, you know, I have an understanding of chords and scales and notes and a little bit of music theory, but just enough to get by, to get the ideas out. I wouldn't say it's something that I'm like, you know, I can't listen to something and say, oh yeah, that's a B flat major into an E sharp, whatever. You know, that's not really my bag, but I love finding, you know, interesting flavors and textures and sounds, and that's really my bag. I really, really enjoy that, and I've done that for a long time as a hobby. And so that's my big thing, honestly. I think, you know, it's actually really funny that I think we made a joke about this in one of the videos where I talked about guitars, and people are like, how does he know so much about guitars? How does he know about pedals? And I was like, yeah, because I have a lot of built-in knowledge about that stuff. I've got a modded Mexi Strat that I plug into this super old little 5-watt Bugera V5 little tube amp. I'm not that concerned about massive power output. I have a lot of really fun pedals. I got a Hog 2, a couple of hologram electronics devices. I got this Memory Man that I've had for years and years from EHX, or EH Electronic. fuck, I don't remember the name of it right now, but it's been that long. It's a Memory Man pedal. You guys know what it is if you know what it is. So yeah, music, huge part of my life. I love listening to it. I have so much music that I love. You guys probably hear the classical music in my videos, and that's because I am a big classical music fan. I think that classical music has so much staying power, and it's such a fantastic, simplified type of music. Although I love like super dense production heavy stuff, like I'm really big into, like a Tim Hecker or a John Hopkins or, Bobby Krilic from the Hacks and Cloak. Like I love the really dark, weird stuff, but classical music has such a beautiful, timeless quality about it. So I'm a big fan. But anything that perks my ear that isn't derivative and poppy, I will definitely listen to. So I love music. The other big thing I do that I spend my time is cycling. I found cycling in 2020, and it really was a way of me just, at first, I was like, man, I just want to get more in shape. I'm tired of, I thought I was schlubby at the time, but I just wasn't as in shape as I wanted to be, and I knew that cardiovascular health was very important to track days and racing, which is what I was doing at the time. And I saw a lot of professional motorcycle riders cycling all the time. I saw Alicia Spargo and Scott Redding. They were cycling all the time. And I was like, all right, like it's 2 wheels, and that sounds like a fun thing to do. Why don't I get a bicycle and just start riding around a little bit? Man, one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I'm a freaking spandex wearing cyclist. Aero is everything. Like, come on, dude. I don't know how this happened, but I am now that guy, and I love it so much. I think it's such a good use of time. It's very similar to riding a motorcycle in that you're engaged, you're focused, but I think it's so pure. I think there's something so pure about cycling, and the fact that it's extremely healthy for you, and you get to get your heart rate up and be outside, get some sun. Man, I love it. I love cycling so much. So I've been doing that for about 4 years. I am, although like I do a lot of cycling, I don't take it super seriously. I did for a while. I think in 21 and into 22, I took it really seriously. I was training all the time, and I was doing some crit racing and, really trying to up my game. But nowadays, I love just doing like a long zone 2 ride and just doing it for my health. I just like locking in a wattage and having some fun. I've got my trainers set up right now because I've got my baby on the way, and I know that I'm going to be stuck at home for a while with my baby, I'm so excited to be stuck at home with my baby, let me tell you guys. Actually, funny story about that. I have an entire paternity leave set up. So the next 2 months, all the videos you guys are going to see have already all been created. So if something's a bit weird or out of sequence, that's probably why, because I was able to pre-produce 2 months worth of content. So about 5 videos per week for 2 months. I think it's something what is that? 40 videos, 50 videos that are ready in pre-production. And big shout out to the Yam team. They're going to churn away while I go on paternity leave, and if they have a baby, I will return the favor. But yeah, super excited. So all of June and July, I will be on YouTube. You will see videos going live, which is really cool that we're able to do that, but I will not be around probably. But anyways, yeah, I set up the trainer so that I can cycle a little bit while my baby is at the house. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, it used to be really serious about it. Nowadays, I just love going out for a nice 2 to 3 hour ride, locking in the zone 2, chilling, watching my stats on the little bike computer, listening to some nice music. That's my go-to nowadays. That's my big thing that I like doing. And the other thing too that I haven't told people, I actually did tell people this, what is it, about, that'd be 6 months ago now? Jesus, yeah, it was before the new year started. I said that I was downsizing my personal motorcycle fleet, and I have, actually extremely dramatically. I was able to cut down to just 1 motorcycle, and that's the one you see before you, the Desert Sled. This is the only personal bike I own now. And let me explain. the reason I did that is because I realized that more things do not make me happy. I've been on a big minimalism kick lately. Actually, my wife really spurred this on, but you know, we're big on decluttering and minimalism and like understanding like what's making us happy and what's not making us happy. And let me tell you, consumerism and owning more stuff does not make me happy. Peace of mind and freedom makes me happy, which is why I'm having a baby, because I want peace of mind. But that's different. That's like a nurturing, you know, interpersonal relationship, putting a human being first. That's very different than owning a bunch of bikes. So let's count the bikes I had for a while there. I had the Turbo Busa, and I'll explain what happened to each of them. So I had the Turbo Busa, my Ninja 400 race bike. I had my Husqvarna FE501S, my dual sport bike. I had my KTM 250 SX motocross bike. So that's 4 of them right there. And then I had my Daytona 675R race bike. That's 5. And then the Desert Sled is 6. Those are the 6 sort of personal bikes that I owned, right? So the 5 I mentioned previously, other than the sled, have all been gone. So what happened to them? So the Turbo Busa, I actually donated to Craig over at the Bearded Mechanic. I gave him the bike, the title. It's not my bike anymore, it's his bike. I told him, do whatever you want with it. I gave him the rundown on the whole motorcycle. And I was like, hey, just for the first video, just put my name in the title. Just put Yammy Noob in the title so that I get some good exposure out of it. I was done with that bike, man. It was just nothing but headaches, and it just took up so much space because it was so fat and big. And I was like, why do I need a 300 wheel horsepower motorcycle anyway? So, bye. The FE501S and the KTM 250. So it was a motocross bike and a dual sport bike. Let's talk about the dual sport bike first. The FE501S, I had as a replacement to my WR250R, which I never should have sold the WR. I never should have sold that bike. That bike was so sick. I really miss it. That was so stupid because they don't even make them anymore. So now if you want to find one, you're going to have to buy one used. I had a brand spanking new. It was awesome. But I upgraded to the FE501S because I was like, yeah, it's lighter weight, it's better. And I did some riding with it. I took it out to California. I did some enduro stuff with it. But truthfully, like I said, you've only got one butt, right? I can only spend a certain amount of time riding motorcycles, and between track days and the road riding I was doing for Yammy Noob, I was like, man, I'm just not using this thing the way it was intended to be used. I'm just not getting that much mileage out of it. And I had that experience in Canada where I rode for 5 days off-road and like hard enduro type of stuff, and I just was like, I don't even think I want to ride off-road anymore, man. And I really don't. I'm not that interested. Maybe someday I'll do a trip that's a little more mellow on like a rented dual sport, and I'll do that. But at this stage in the game, I'm completely disinterested in owning my own off-road bike and riding trails and that sort of thing. It's just really not my forte. It's not what I like with motorcycling, and yeah, just not that interested in it. The KTM 250. Now this bike was super cool. I had that bike for about 3.5 years, actually a long time. And I bought that bike similar to how I started cycling, to where I was like, oh, like guys who are really good at riding motorcycles will ride motocross. So I was like, let me get a motocross bike and, see what that's all about, train and have some fun. And I learned how to do jumps with it. I was never that good at motocross. I will be completely bone frank honest with you, right? Bone frank, that's not a word. I will be completely honest with you. I was never that good at motocross, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I learned how to slide the bike, jumping it, popping some wheelies, like that sort of thing. It was a really fun bike. It was my first like honest to God dirt bike that I owned, and I loved how lightweight it was and how flickable it was. It was such an enjoyable motorcycle to own and ride. But similar to the FE501, I thought to myself, man, I'm not getting to go out to the track that often. I don't get to go out and ride motocross that often to justify owning a motocross bike. So I sold it. The other 2 bikes are my track bikes. I'll leave the Daytona for last because I know you guys are like, how could you get rid of the Daytona? But I'll explain. the Ninja 400. I had a Ninja 400 endurance bike, proper race bike. We had that thing fully kitted out, fully zooted. You know, it was a competitive expert class motorcycle for CMRA. We actually led the endurance series for a majority of last year, and we would have won if I hadn't had to go to India to do the Royal Enfield stuff for the Himalayan, which I was not gonna miss the opportunity to go to the Himalayas to go club racing in BFE, Texas. I'm just gonna be completely honest, it made zero sense. And I told the guys on the team, and they were like, yeah, that makes sense. So because I decided to stop racing this year in 24, I was like, well, I don't really need 2 track bikes or 2 race bikes, right? Like, I have the Daytona that I like, so I went ahead and sold the Ninja 400 too. The Daytona, this one was tough. I held on to the Daytona for a long, long time, and I had told myself the following, because I had, you know, like, a garage at ECR. Like, I would go out there like very regularly, and ECR, Eagles Canyon Raceway, from Austin is about a 3.5 hour drive, so I would make like a whole weekend out of it. Like, it really took a lot of time out of my week to go and do this, and I did it a lot. I told myself, I'm gonna give it about 3 months. Give yourself 3 months of time and see if you have the desire and if you actually go to the track with the Daytona. And neither of those materialized. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not even really going anymore. And you might think, oh, he gave up on track days. It's not that I gave up on track days. It's just that I've done a lot of frickin' track days. I don't think I'm at the point now where I feel like I need to go all the time. Again, I'm 31. I'm slowing down a little bit, you know? It's just not that enjoyable to waste an entire weekend to me to do that anymore. I would much rather, you know, be here in Austin, not drive 7 hours total, you know, go cycling. I could take the sled out for a nice ride. I can go out to brunch with my wife or whatever. Like, you know, we can hang out with some friends. That sounds a lot more enticing to me now than, you know, doing like a weekend trip like that. So it was a hard decision, but I sold it too, you know. So I don't even have a Daytona anymore, which is pretty nuts to say. I thought that I would, but you know, life moves on, and sometimes the things you thought that were super precious to you are actually not that precious. And I gotta say, I'm a lot happier with less. I am a lot happier with less to think about and less to worry about. My personal stable now is literally just this bike. So as long as this bike runs and rides and it's going good, that's all I care about. Because this bike is such an awesome do-anything bike, and I really can't see myself getting rid of this one particular. I thought about it to get something else, like a, you know, that Tracer 9 GT or the Desert X or the Triumph Scrambler, but the value proposition isn't quite there. They're going to be 2 times the cost of something like this, but it's not going to give me 2 times the fun, you know? And I'm so familiar with this bike, and I know it so well that it for me, it just doesn't make sense to get rid of it. So I just got this bike, and then the giveaway bikes. That's all I do. So also, spoiler for you guys. If you want to see the next giveaway bike, if you join on yammynoob.co, I've already been putting up content on Discord about the new bike. It's a Yamaha, I'll tell you that. It's a Yamaha, and it's super fun, and it's super spicy. So go and check that out. So yeah, I downsized just the one bike. I might even get rid of my truck, to be honest, because the only reason I had the truck was because I was hauling bikes so much. But you know, I was never a truck guy. I don't care about owning a truck. I literally only owned the truck because it was a means to an end to transport motorcycles. And now, because I'm not really going on track anymore, and I don't really have a need to haul motorcycles, I was like, well, I might as well go. So I'm thinking about doing that too, but that's my own four-wheeled issues. But yeah, guys, I think this video has been, I don't even know how long this video was, but the reason I wanted to make this is because, you know, I feel like people don't really know me. They just see some sort of like disembodied voice or a vessel on YouTube, and I've in a weird way tried to keep it that way, because honestly I'm a little scared to, you know, bring you guys into who I am, because I feel like if you people judge or hate on Yammy Noob the entity, I'm like, yeah, who cares? That's not a real person. That's Yammy Noob. But for me, it's a little scary if I were to put myself out there and then people hate me. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not that good. I guess people don't like me. But I've always had this degree of separation away from my audience. But you guys have seemed to be pretty receptive to me opening up a little bit and being a little less tight-fisted on my personality, and kind of introducing it a little bit, because at the end of the day, like, you are watching, I assume, because you at least put up with me and like me enough to watch the videos. So I guess you want to learn a little bit more about me too. And yeah, that's I want to like end it in like a very Yammy Noob way, but I don't think I need to, right? Like, it's not that type of video. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. It boggles my mind, the amount of people that watch Yammy Noob. And I always want to try to give back. That's why I do the giveaway bikes. That's why we do content that is geared more towards education and value. I always want to try to give something back. Like, I try to entertain, but I also try to educate and explain and show things. I don't know, maybe I'll introduce a little bit more personality. You guys can get to know me a little bit better. But that was today's video, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about your Papa Yam, who is going to be an actual Papa here very shortly, which is exciting. I will maybe include my baby babbling a little bit in the scripts or something. That could be kind of funny. But yeah, just remember, if you're hating on me, this is who you're hating on. Look at him. That's me. I'm quite simply just an egg with legs, with a hat and a little glasses, and I just want to make motorcycle videos. I don't know. My wife made that image, by the way. Yeah, she has a good sense of humor. All that being said, thanks so much for checking out today's video, guys. I really appreciate it. Really grateful to all of you. And yeah, bye.